Preface and Table of Contents of the Everlasting Righteousness, or How Shall Man Be Just with God? This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by J. Reader. The Everlasting Righteousness, or How Shall Man Be Just with God, by Horatius Bonar. Preface and Table of Contents. The awakened conscience of the 16th century betook itself to the righteousness of God. There it found refuge at once from condemnation and from impurity. Only by righteousness could it be pacified, and nothing less than that which is divine could meet the case. At the cross this righteousness was found, human yet divine, provided for man and presented to him by God for relief of conscience and justification of life. On the one word tetelestai, it is finished, weary souls sat down and were refreshed. The voice from the tree did not summon them to do, but to be satisfied with what was done. Millions of bruised consciences there found healing and peace. The belief of that finished work brought the sinner into favor with God, nor did it leave him in uncertainty as to this. The justifying work of Calvary was God's way, not only of bringing pardon, but of securing certainty. It was the only perfect thing which had ever been presented to God in man's behalf. And so peculiar was this perfection that it might be used by man in his transactions with God as if it were his own. The knowledge of this justification was life from the dead to multitudes. All over Europe, from the Apennines to the Grampians, to the Pyrenees, to the Carpathians, went the glad tidings that man is justified freely, and that God wishes him to know that he is justified. It was not merely a new thought for man's intellect, but a new discovery for his soul. Number 1. As to the true source of spiritual health, namely, the setting of man's conscience right with God. Number 2. As to the continuation of that health, namely the keeping of the conscience right. The fruit of this was not merely a healthy personal religion, but a renovated intellect and a noble literature, and above all a pure worship. It was an era of resurrection. The graves were open, and the congregation of the dead became the church of the living. Christendom awoke and rose. Resurrection dew fell far and wide, nor has it ceased to fall. For ages Christianity has groveled in the dust, smothered with semi-pagan rites, ready to die if not already dead, bound hand and foot by semi-idolatrous priesthood, unable to do aught for a world which it had been sent to regenerate. Now it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. A new conscience was born, and with a new conscience came in new life and power. Nothing had been seen like this since the age of the apostles. The doctrine of another's righteousness reckoned to us for justification before God is one of the links that knit together the 1st and 16th centuries, the apostles and the reformers. The creeds of the Reformation overleap 15 centuries and land us at once in the epistle to the Romans. Judicial and moral cleansing was what man needed, and in that epistle we have both the imputed and imparted righteousness. The former the root or foundation of the latter, not the one without the other, both together, inseparable, but each in its own order. It was not Luther merely who took up the old watchword, "The just shall live by faith," and thus found the answer of a good conscience toward God. To millions of hearts it came like a voice from heaven, they knew not how. Sunshine from above had fallen upon the grand text, the text which the age needed. Man recognized the truths thus supernaturally lighted up. The nations came to its light, and kings to the brightness of its rising. The inquiring men of that age, though not borrowing from each other, betook themselves to this truth in text. From every kingdom of Europe came the same voice, and every Protestant confession bore witness to the unanimity of awakened Christendom. The long-needed missing truth had been found, and Eureka was the cry of gladness announcing the discovery. Our fathers saw
Sample complete. Ready to continue?